Imagine a world where a single, innocent action can reshape your entire destiny in an instant. Our story begins with an ordinary human, someone who believes life is simple, predictable, and firmly rooted in the laws of Earth. But everything changes the moment he reaches out, almost casually, and removes a strange metallic collar from the neck of an elegant, otherworldly alien woman. The air trembles as if the universe itself has paused to witness what he has done, because on her planet, this act is not small. It is marriage. In one breath, without knowing, he has become her husband. The alien freezes, her eyes widening with shock, indignation, and a sharp intensity no human emotion can ever match. She gazes at him like someone who has just watched fate take an unexpected turn. Meanwhile, the human stares back in confusion, completely unaware of the catastrophic cultural law he has just triggered. When she finally speaks, her voice is calm, firm, and absolutely serious. "The law is clear. You removed my collar. You are now bound to me." He tries to laugh it off, believing it's a misunderstanding or a strange joke. But her unmoving expression crushes any hope of that. She begins explaining the traditions of her world, a society where collars symbolize sacred vows, binding contracts, and deeply rooted customs. Removing one is not a gesture of curiosity. It is a declaration of commitment, a promise of unity, and a legally binding marital act. The human's mind spins as she describes ancient rituals, obligations, and expectations he could never have imagined. He protests, trying to argue that this is Earth and Earth's rules should apply, but she gently shakes her head and replies, "Our laws follow us wherever we go." Shock turns into panic as the human realizes the gravity of his situation. He imagines headlines, jokes from friends, and the sheer absurdity of explaining that he accidentally married an alien. But even in his panic, he notices something subtle in her eyes. Something softer beneath the authority. Behind the rules and the tradition, there is a person who also didn't choose this circumstance, yet is bound to honor it. Their first day together becomes a whirlwind of chaos, confusion, and reluctant learning. She insists on teaching him greetings, gestures, postures, and rituals required between bonded partners in her culture. Every mistake he makes earns a raised eyebrow or a silent sigh, and every clumsy apology sounds weaker than the last. But each time he gets something right, even in the smallest way, she gives a quiet nod of approval. Somehow that tiny gesture feels strangely rewarding, almost comforting. Soon the cultural clashes begin. What is casual for him is offensive to her. What seems polite to her sounds alarming to him. They misunderstand each other constantly, during meals, during conversations, even while simply walking side by side. Yet despite the endless confusion, something begins to shift. The tension does not disappear, but it softens. He starts asking questions with real curiosity instead of fear. She begins explaining things with patience instead of formality. He begins to see the beauty and logic behind her customs, while she begins to understand the innocent impulsiveness that comes naturally to humans. Day by day, trust begins to bloom. Not in large dramatic moments, but through small, quiet gestures. They share food. They talk about their worlds. They laugh, first awkwardly, then genuinely, at mistakes that once caused frustration. One night, under a sky filled with alien stars, she tells him stories of her childhood, ancient traditions, and the values that shaped her life. He listens closely, realizing that behind the strict laws lies a living, emotional being with memories, fears, and dreams. Their connection deepens in ways neither expected. Humor turns into comfort. Silence turns into understanding. Even disagreements begin to feel less like conflicts and more like steps toward knowing each other better. The law that once felt like a prison begins to feel like a bridge, forcing them into close proximity that slowly transforms into true companionship. She begins watching him with curiosity rather than obligation, and he begins looking at her not as a stranger, but as someone he actually wants to understand. Weeks pass, and the human finds himself reflecting on how drastically his life has changed from a single, innocent action. What once felt like a strange, accidental trap now feels like the start of something meaningful. He has learned patience, respect, and the value of her culture. She has learned openness, vulnerability, and the warmth of human sincerity. They move through their days with a new rhythm. A quiet harmony born from shared experiences, mistakes, apologies, victories, and evolving trust. One evening, under the same alien sky, they sit side by side without the tension that once defined them. There is no panic, no fear, no confusion. Just two beings from entirely different worlds sharing a peaceful moment, as if the universe has finally settled around them. The human realizes that removing her collar was only the beginning. The real bond, the real relationship, was built through choices, compassion, patience, and emotional honesty. The universe may have brought them together by accident, but what keeps them together now is something far deeper than law. It is trust, it is connection, it is the quiet, growing possibility of love. And so, what started as a simple moment of curiosity became the turning point of two lives. A collision of worlds, a bridge between cultures, and perhaps the beginning of a destiny neither of them expected, but both of them are now willing to explore.